Assalamualaikum listeners and welcome to the Tech Clinic. Yes, I'm your host Yasar on 107.6 FM. Remember you can listen to it anywhere in the world at liveandradiodawn.com. I've got brother Ghufran Shah on the radio airwaves with us on the line and not in the studio today, but let's bring him into the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, Yasar. How you doing?
Alhamdulillah, and how are you?
Alhamdulillah, can't complain. Even though I have a bit of a sore throat, I'm sounding rather husky, but can you hear me okay?
Sore throat. You sound great. Yes, we can hear you perfectly
Lovely.
clear.
Loud and clear.
Yes, loud
Excellent.
and clear.
Have you been enjoying the snow this week?
Not really, no. But alhamdulillah, it's good, isn't it? It's
Subhanallah,
different.
beautiful. Yeah,
It's
spring
different.
snow, eh? Yes, indeed. Spring snow.
It's different for the end of March.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finishing touches before it goes. Right, let's go into our show today. We've got the timing right for a change today. Alhamdulillah. So let's jump into the questions. I know that you've been a bit, bit of a sore throat because of the old Samsung questions coming in, but we've got to we've got to answer
We
them.
love Samsung. We love Samsung.
Well, we do. We love them all.
We love everything.
We
We
love
love
everything.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
We love
surely
ones
do.
and zeros. We love ones and zeros down the wire. Okay, let's get to the questions because we're just going to try and finish on time today. So, okay.
We're going to finish on time. That's going to be an achievement. Let's go for it. First question, mixed with question 4 as well. I heard there is more than one version of the S4 in terms of spec. And do you know which version the UK will be getting? Mixed with question 4 as well, as you said. I have got details of the new Samsung S4, but still would find it useful explained and broken down by you guys. I what it means to have the 8 processor thing, not very tech savvy as you can see. Also, I missed out on release date.
Okay, yes, indeed. The question is absolutely correct. There are, in fact, multiple versions of the S4. In fact, there's 2 versions of the S4. So some countries will be getting what's called the advanced 1.6 hertz octa-core processor, while others will get the Galaxy S4 powered by a quad-core processor. So we'll talk about cores and what all that means later on. But
Okay.
it looks like most of Europe will be getting the faster but less number of cores, and other places will get the octa-core. So the full detail list will be on Samsung's website at some point. It's not there yet, but it all depends on which part of the world you'll buy the handsets in. And even some countries, maybe the Arab Emirates, may even get both versions, the 8-core and the 4-core.
Right.
So what's all this core business you might be asking it? Not the Apple core. It's core is it's really a measure of the speed of that particular device. So think of it as a number of cylinders you have in your car, for example. So the more cylinders you have in the car, generally the better the car will be, or the faster that particular car will be.
Okay.
When you talk about processors, a processor which has octa-core, i.e. has 8 cores, it will be running particularly faster than a processor which has 4 cores. Not necessarily twice as fast. It all depends on the type of application running, the nature of the application, other things running in the background. So generally speaking, more cores means it will be a faster handset. You may have noticed that the handset with the more number of cores has a slower CPU rate. So this 1.6 gigahertz value is the speed of the processor. So it's a 1.6 gigahertz device with 8 cores, as opposed to a 1.9 gigahertz faster processor with less number of cores. So they'll still be pretty fast. I mean, they're at least twice as fast, or around twice as fast as the iPhone 5.
Right.
Okay, so these are pretty fast processors. So yeah, the actual listener or the question is right, that there are 2 devices. From a consumer point of view, you really are restricted to the place where you purchase the device from. So if you're in Europe, in the UK, you've pretty much got no choice. If you really want the 8 cores, then maybe you can go shopping in Dubai and just buy the handset if you're been blessed with the capacity to do that. But for most people, it wouldn't make a difference. So the detailed list of which handset will be in which country will hopefully it'll be on the Samsung website there is a website where the information is available today.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the official Samsung information. There's a website called SAM Mobile. On there, it lists all the countries
Yeah.
and the particular model number that that country has. Okay, so look at the actual full spec. The question, there's one more question where they've got some details, but need to have it explained and broken down by you guys, please. Release date in the UK. The release date is the. Let me get this right. I did write it down earlier. It is going to be released, inshallah, on the 26th of April. It'll be available in the UK on all major networks.
Mm-hmm.
Some networks are doing a pre-order, and there's some networks are saying if you pre-order now, you'll get a free case or something.
Yeah.
So you can hopefully buy it from even the Samsung store at Westwood Shopping Centre in London, and just get in touch with your local network.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, there's also a Samsung S4 mini handset as well, which will be available in 4 versions as well.
Right.
So that's got a smaller screen, a 4.3-inch screen. It's still a HD resolution, but it's a smaller screen, and it runs again Android 422 on a dual-core processor.
Yeah.
I guess those of you with nimble hands, maybe the sisters out there or the brothers out there with more cute and nimble hands may prefer the Samsung S4 Mini, but who knows. So just a bit on the spec. You can get bogged down with the specs, but we'll just whiz through some of these. So the S4's got the humongous, ginormous 5-inch full HD AMO LED screen.
Right.
It's running 3G and on the 4G network as well. So if you see the phrase LTE against a handset, that relates to the high-speed network that many operators are supporting now, which is the 4G. That gives you 100 megabit second download, which is pretty fast, and 54 megabit second upload. Capacity-wise, between 16, 32, and 64 gigabytes of storage, and you can have a micro SD inserted with a 64 gigabyte card, so you can end up storing a lot of data on a particular device with the removable media. Talked about the processor. So in the UK, we'll have the quad core, 2 gigabytes of RAM in the handset. You've got support for all the Wi-Fi protocols, ABGN, so pretty much most Wi-Fi points people have in their houses will fall into one of those categories. Got Bluetooth, GPS, the near-field communication. There's an infrared LED, which is interesting, so you can use that for doing remote control functions.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully there'll be an application where you can use the phone to control your TV via normal infrared. That'll be interesting. Nice micro USB charger. I'm pretty sure everyone who's got a phone, a smartphone nowadays will have a micro USB charger floating around. Pretty nice camera. Lots of megapixels here. So there's a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera and a 2 megapixel front-facing camera. And you can even record HD video at 30 frames per second. So pretty impressive shooting capabilities there.
Mm-hmm.
Android latest LED in 422, and it weighs a mere 130 grams. Okay, so that's the kind of detailed spec of it. And in the announcement, there's a lot more application features. So I won't go through all of them, but one of the I suppose evolutionary, not quite, well, I suppose revolutionary ones was this almost hovering your fingers over the screen to retrieve emails and swiping left and right, so you don't have to touch the screen. So you don't have to touch the screen anymore. You can just hover your fingers over the screen, and that will swipe some of your content. There's a lot of smart applications there. The Samsung S Voice Drive, built-in translation. The smart pause is really cool. When you're looking at a video on the phone, the video will stop playing if you turn away, if you gaze away. The cool feature there. So available 26th April, not long to go, just over a month. So I'm sure you're going to get the S4, and if you don't, I will. And I will actually bring it into the studio and play with it.
Okay.
It's not really, it's not water resistant or waterproof, so can't really do the water test, but might do it for jokes if you get enough calls. If you get a call, for a laugh.
Just to add on a few things, I guess the quad cores. If I'm right in saying this, it's not actually been confirmed, has it, for the UK yet? Either way, but it's more of a kind of most likely it's going to happen. Is that right?
I think they have confirmed.
They have?
Yeah, they've confirmed that the UK will not be receiving the 8-core processor.
Oh, okay.
that will be available in other markets worldwide.
I think that's mostly related to 4G, isn't it? To
Yeah,
do,
sure.
yeah.
Exactly. So the quad-core will support the 4G. The octa-core doesn't support 4G.
Mm.
Mm.
And there's also been benchmarks being released as well, leaked benchmarks, I have to say, and that the S4 is beating every other phone on the market, apparently.
Indeed,
The
indeed, and
quad-core version, that is.
yeah, it's not even I think people shouldn't get bogged down with this 8-core being better than 4-core
Yeah.
with this handset, because there probably won't be many applications initially that support or take advantage of all those 4 cores, let alone the 8 cores.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
so, so just to tick in the box, mine's bigger and faster than yours. Well, if there's no app that's going to be using it, it's pretty much immaterial, isn't it?
It's a waste.
Indeed.
Okay.
So there was a question: which version is better?
I think we just answered that.
Indeed.
Okay, let's move on towards the next question, which is the third question in line. How do I make the iPad child safe?
Okay, yeah. So we all know and love the iPad. It can be a great source of
Do we?
family fun and entertainment.
Sure.
I suppose some people do. Those of us have been fortunate to get iPads.
Okay.
But security and child safety is always it should be at the forefront
Yeah.
of our minds. Certainly with children coming home from school and getting on the internet straight away. I think parents should not let young children leave them unattended. I know some households that don't even have internet access, or if they do, they'll be very restrictive and they'll use a computer in front of the parents. So if you don't have any kind of child safety policy at home, or you don't restrict internet usage, then I strongly suggest you sit down and look at what your kids are browsing on the internet. Always need to know which sites to go into and so on. There are some measures we can take, certainly with the iPad. You can make it almost child-proof, and you can restrict which parts of the internet they can see, and apply parental controls.
Mm-hmm.
So on the iPad specifically, you can go into you can turn restrictions on. So inside settings, you can turn restrictions on, and there's a settings option called restrictions where you can enable them. And that will ask you for a 4-digit passcode. So initially that might be a passcode you want on the lock screen.
Okay.
To every time you turn the device on, you've got to enter in this passcode. And then you can even disable Safari, so you can stop the children from even accessing the internet via the browser. So maybe they're just going to use the device for applications. Maybe there's a learning application you've installed, and that's going to be the sole usage of the device. You can start them. You can disable YouTube as well. So those icons get disabled when you disable those applications. Could also disable the iTunes. So normally when you do browse the iTunes, you can very easily start making purchases by downloading various types of content.
Okay.
So you might want to restrict that by just disabling that feature completely. There's also FaceTime. Again, FaceTime, you might think that's pretty harmless, but you find a lot of people have iPhones and iDevices nowadays. If you're just sitting on the train, you'll see the number of people who've got iPhones and iPads and iPad minis, and you can be sending messages from your phone to somebody's laptop,
Right.
vice versa. And more so now with this FaceTime, you can see what people are doing. So if you don't want your children making calls to other people and seeing what they're doing and vice versa, probably worthwhile disabling FaceTime as well.
Privacy alert. Don't you think?
So, yeah. Valid point, yeah. So, what else is there? Email, yeah. So if you've got one device but you're checking your emails and your children are using that device as well, you don't really want to give your kids access to sending emails from your work email account, for example.
Okay.
So maybe disable email accounts on that particular device, okay? And maybe you want to check emails, but you don't want your children to make changes to the settings. So there is an option where you can go to accounts and allow changes or disallow changes.
Mm-hmm.
There are quite a few features you can do on the Apple device. They're all pretty much around settings in the restrictions tab.
Okay. Excellent. Let's move on towards the next question that we have here. The next question we have is: I have a HC Desire C which keeps coming up with low memory errors. How do I fix this so it does not happen again?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. This seems to be a known problem on that particular device. The device has been around for a while, so just scanning through the forums, a lot of these problems relate to syncing your contacts, certainly with your Facebook online account. So if you do have a Facebook account on that device, maybe worth looking at how many contacts you have and whether the space taken by the contacts is in the megabytes or in kilobytes. If it's in the megabytes, then you might want to go and see if you can change how the contacts are stored. So before you do anything, always take a backup of all your device configuration, backup all your contacts, so we won't be held responsible for any damage you cause to your device.
Yeah.
For that small print, isn't it? So one way of actually clearing the contacts is by going to your settings, applications, and you can manage your contact storage, and you could even try clearing that data. If you do that, you will lose all your contacts. So make sure you've got a backup on your computer or via SD card. So see if that fixes things. If you do clear your contents or clear your cache, restart the device and see if that's made any changes. First thing probably to check is how much storage is being used by the contacts in the first place. That could be the cause of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much all the kind of notes I've seen around this low memory issue is scattered around related to contacts. Maybe try uninstalling Facebook initially before removing contacts. Uninstall Facebook and see if that makes a difference. You can always reinstall Facebook.
A lot of apps tend to take up a lot of cache memory as well, so clearing that can normally free up space. I guess, like you just said, yeah, that one's a good point as well. Plus, text messages on these low memory phones, just keeping that clear. Don't you think?
Yeah, sure.
It's just the little things tend to help and make the big differences at the end of the day. So it's more of an entry-level smartphones. More you clear out the phone, the better you'll run, and less chance of you bringing up those errors on your phone. Next question that we've got: any news on the iPhone 6? Any rumours?
Yeah, interesting. If you look at the way Apple have been launching devices past couple of years, there most probably will be something around spring of this year,
Right.
spring or summer of this year.
Yeah.
There's nothing been confirmed yet, but the rumours are, based on past history, it might even be the iPhone 5S. They've always released the S device before the next number, so it might be iPhone 6, it might be iPhone 5S, and there's been nothing confirmed, and Apple are very secretive. You'll only get a feel for when there is a new device when Apple announce some kind of event, and even in the event, they won't tell you what they're announcing, so things are always kept secretive until the last minute.
Sure.
If it is the iPhone 5S, what more could they possibly do to the actual device? The Retina screen is extremely high-end, and if they make the screen a bit bigger, then it will still use that Retina capability, so you can't see pixels on the Retina screen. Some of the rumors are it'll be thinner, maybe use a different kind of a sharp type of technology screen, which makes the screen use less power. It might even be lighter. It might even be curved at the back instead of using the glass type of technique.
Okay.
These are all rumors. There's been nothing confirmed from Apple. Chances are they'll probably go for more storage, because you can now get an iPad 4 with 128 gigabytes of storage.
Right.
Which is pretty phenomenal. So if that's anything to follow, then maybe the actual phone will have that capacity option as well. So storage, screen, probably be faster as well. Maybe they'll start using NFC. If you look at what Samsung have done with the S4, lots of new features in there. It's extremely fast. Today, the Samsung is twice as fast as the iPhone 5, and I'm sure Apple will not be liking that at the moment. There may even be some more fancy features. Most probably there'll be some huge software updates with in tune with the stuff Samsung have brought in. So iOS 7 may have some new funky features, which we're not sure yet. So it's all hush-hush at the moment, but I'm pretty sure Apple will do something, because the whole Apple scene has gone a little bit quiet now. I think they peaked last year with the iPhone 5, and then what was it this year? I can't remember now.
What's that?
The iPhone 5. I can't remember when it came out. it was this year, wasn't it? So
No, iPhone 5 came out last year.
last year, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
we're in 2013 now.
Yeah, sure. So when the iPhone 5 came out, it peaked, and now if you compare the i5 with the Samsung, Samsung just looks a hell of a lot newer, newer screen, bigger device. So Apple need to do something, otherwise they're are going to start to lose market share. So just wait and see, and no release date at all. They tend to do some things around between spring and June. Maybe in May time we'll hear something else, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure by this summer there should be something.
Apple obviously still have a very strong hold in the States. And Samsung, were quite cheeky when they did that launch event of the S4 in the States, in New York. So that was a bit cheeky of them, trying to dig back at Apple, I guess, and trying to get their loyal customers. But it's a case of, will the S4 live up to its hype? That's another story. Or will loyal Apple, buyers still stick with Apple products and be looking forward towards the next Apple device or not? And that's something to see.
Yeah, so the battle between iOS and Android, and Android is still there. It's approaching Apple worldwide, and the kind of market share. I mean, 37.16% of the figures that Android has, which is kind of toppling the mobile market share. So they are increasing quite rapidly behind Apple. In fact, if you look at Apple, we've got almost 40% of the market share in terms of smartphone devices.
Yeah.
Apple I think it's around 26%. And you've got Symbian and Samsung OS. So Android is still ahead of iOS. But this month, in fact, I mean the iOS market share reached 54% this month, while Android was 40%.
There you go.
So it still is neck and neck. So yeah, Apple need to have something revolutionary. I'm sure they've got something up their sleeve which will make it interesting.
It will do. And want it to be interesting. We don't want it to be one way. Okay, move on to the next question, which is, well, in terms of the HC One, Samsung S4, iPhone 5, which would you recommend?
Okay, I suppose we've talked about all these handsets in the past couple of weeks. Just spoken a lot about the S4, iPhone 5, and HTC One. I had a short experience with the Android, and the biggest problem for me was integration with my other devices and simple things like contacts, sharing pictures. I found it really awkward with Android. The whole kind of integration ecosystem for me, the Apple is by far a lot more smooth and integrated. So
Agree.
I suppose it all depends on personal preference as well. So if you've always been an Apple user, naturally I'd say go for the iPhone 5. If you've got an iPad or an Apple TV, these things just work really well.
Yeah.
If you've got a home entertainment system, you're seeing a lot of the new amplifiers nowadays will support this AirPlay feature. So from your handset, you can very easily send audio and pictures to your amplifier by AirPlay. So AirPlay is becoming well mature now. If you've always been a HTC user, I think there's a lot of brand loyalty that goes on as well. So the new HTC One handset, and that looks phenomenal, feels phenomenal, feels better than I thought the actual Sony. Even the iPhone, like a solid handset, and the sound on that is pretty amazing. So whereas coming from an S3 background, you find you'll probably just naturally switch to the S4. So I think today, if I put my hand on my heart and say if I never had an iPhone or a smartphone today, I'd probably go out and buy the S4 because it just looks really amazing. It's a bigger screen. If I was to start from scratch, I'd go buy the S4.
I guess, to be fair to Apple on this, I would say S4 is like next gen. iPhone 5 is still the previous one. It's not the same comparison in essence, to be fair. You have to really wait towards either 5S or 6 whenever that comes out this year, most likely the end of this year. But that will be the real comparison to the S4, would you say?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the really, between the two, wouldn't it? Like the competitor and the other.
Sure.
Otherwise those two are quite, a bit of a mismatch.
Agreed. Are you
Yeah.
spot on there? Spot on.
I mean, SS4's got the sheer power at the moment, but we have to wait and see what the 5S or the 6 brings to the table. And HC1, so believe it or not, HC actually believe they are actually comparing the 1 to the S3. So if they
Okay.
compare it to the
Okay.
S3, then obviously HC1 beats it off the charts to the
Mm.
S3. But I personally find that a bit silly because they're going against a model which was released last year. But to HC's credit, they go by their cycles, and so do Sony. I spoke to a Sony rep, and he said that this is our cycle. This is why we release the phones at this time of the year. We're not going by when Samsung release it or when Apple release it. This is when we release our new cycle of phones, and that's why it comes in between their new handsets or not.
Yeah, sure.
So
And the recent show, the CES show, back in January, the HTC One won the award for the best handset. So, I mean, it's,
there you go.
there you go. There you go. So it's I suppose you've got a number of things you look for when you buy a phone. I think first of all the looks, cosmetic things.
Mm.
How does it feel in your hand? Is it usable from a whole integration point? And if the iPhone 6 or 5S does not have a bigger screen,
Yeah.
I'll be really upset. I won't really upset because it's just a thing, but I'd be surprised
Mm.
because I think screen does look really small now compared to a lot of the new devices
Yeah.
on the market.
Well, the Apple has been quite rigid in the past, though. They do stick to their values and their core beliefs. So we'll see if they change and they bend one of those values and core beliefs or not. That'll be something different from them.
Yeah, the rumors are what is going to be big with the next Apple product, the iWatch and the curved iWatch. That'll be interesting how they bring that to market, whether or not people will actually buy that.
If it really does go through and if it's already the technology been patent or not, because Samsung already been working on a watch as well, and so has Sony. Sony have already worked on watch, which is I believe something similar to that. It's already on the market. But we'll see. We'll see what Apple bring to the table.
Indeed.
Final. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing.
Yeah. Final question, and I guess we've pretty much answered it as well. Which of the three has the best features and specs? We've said the most powerful is the S4. Is there anything else you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think pound for pound you do a comparison on paper and look at the specs and the overall processing power, certainly
Yeah.
the S4. But remember those figures, those stats, those figures are just figures. If
Exactly.
the software on there has not been optimized to use that power, then you'll still have bugs and you might still have the jerky scrolling.
Agree.
It might not be a good user experience. What still does it for me with the iPhone, even the iPhone 3 that I pick up, it just works so well.
Yeah.
So kind of sharing pictures with the photo stream and the AirPlay, the iMessage, how it all just fits in together. And it's not painful using an Apple device.
Yeah.
When I had the Sony Xperia, it was just everything's customizable, which is a nice thing, and you can tweak and fiddle. But then to do the simplest of things, it was just a pain, to be honest. And,
I guess that can be seen as and like you said, a pain, but also they're quite individually different as well on Android devices because each manufacturer's got the choice. They can customize it in their own way. They can design the software they put on top in their in their own style and bring the display in their own to the market in their own fashion. But whereas the Apple devices, and I'm sure we've mentioned in the previous show, they all look pretty much exactly the same. Previous models and new models, they look exactly the same in terms of software. The design's not too different either, and that can be seen as a downside and a plus side, I guess. The plus side is it's so familiar that everyone just gets on with it. The downside is you can get bored of it easily.
Yeah, sure. I completely agree with you there. Because if you look at the whole Apple ethos has been the software has been designed to run on that specific hardware. So it's so tightly coupled, tightly linked with that piece of hardware, which makes it work so well.
Yeah.
And, So it's got its good points and bad points. As you say, the iPhone 5 looks really bland now. You pick up an iPad Mini, it looks the same.
Mm.
You pick up an iPad, it looks the same. It's familiar, it works well. That's what I think the whole Apple family it's extremely similar, as you say.
Mm. And just to give credit to the other guys, HTC trying to make their products work with all the devices, even though in the tablet market they've not done so well. On the other hand, Samsung have brought a couple of tablets as well, the 8-inch, 7-inch, and plus 10 inches, and they've tried to do similar things to what Apple are doing, I guess. They've got these sharing options, they've got cloud-based services as well, and Sony are doing something similar as well with their tablets. So they're all trying it. It's not a case of they're not trying it and something similar to what Apple are doing, where the integration is very easy. But obviously, the market leaders in that aspect are Apple, in integration that is. But usability and freedom, I would personally put it down to Android. Would you say?
Again, that's a philosophical point. That's a freedom. Even with Android, you're tied into Google and Google Mail and that ecosystem. So, are you really free? I mean, you're free from Apple, I suppose, and iOS, but you're tied into the whole Google Calendar and syncing Google Calendar with your laptop. If it's not a PC, again, it's doable, but it's awkward, So.
I mean, we can argue about this for hours, but there are, other apps available as well. You can use other calendars. But I agree, you have to have a Gmail account to use the Play Store, which, yeah, you are tied in with Google then one way or the other. But they are, to some extent, I mean, you don't have to use iTunes to get your music on, for example, or your pictures transferred. You can easily just connect an Android handset and then transfer data across easily. Don't get me wrong, it might not be as safe as Apple because it goes through iTunes. That's much more safer. But you've got the freedom of literally just dragging and dropping stuff onto your phone or back, from your phone onto your computer. Be that pictures, videos, or music, anything alike.
Yeah, sure.
So it's where you compromise, I guess.
That's the thing. Horses for courses, I have to say.
Finishing off, we had a part 2 of the show, making the most of technology segment. I don't know if you want to hold it on for next week or should we cover it off for today?
Let's cover it off for today. Well,
Yeah.
I got my voice. So, what was the question? It was,
Well,
can you stream media from a PC to a PS3 console?
Yeah.
So, for all you PS3 owners out there, how can you make the most of that device, really? Remember that console is a massive multimedia machine where you can grab content from the internet, and you can, if you set it up correctly, you can get content from all your other computers in your home network.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing you can do is, if you do have a PC, then you can install, and this is part of Windows. Windows Media Player is all you need. So in your computer, when you go to Network and Sharing Center, you can, in your advanced settings, make sure you've turned Network Discovery on, and file and printer sharing is on. And then you can go into, there's an option for media streaming, and you just turn media streaming on. That's all you need to do. So once your computer's on the network and your PS3 can see it, as long as you turn media streaming on, and when you turn your PS3 on, you will see under your video option or audio or music, you'll see your PC listed there. So whichever files you've shared on your PC, if it's audio, video, and music, you'll be able to play them on your PS3. Audio is easy. Pictures are easy. Music, well, that's audio. So video might be a bit tricky. You've got to make sure the video files you have are AVI format. Convert them first to a format suitable for the PS3. Okay. So if you've got a Windows machine, you can enable media streaming, and that's part of the operating system. So you don't need to go out and buy any more software. It's already there on your network.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't use a Windows machine and you use a Mac or Linux or any other non-Windows device, then you can get a PS3 media server. It's a piece of software. Again, this is free. You can download this from PS3 Media Server, all one word, .org.
Mm-hmm.
Download that, install it on your machine, and as long as the machine's running all the time, your PS3 should discover it, and it should be able to see all the files you've shared on that particular computer. So there's quite a few media servers out there. You can get XBMC, you can get something called Plex, Plex. All do the same thing. They're sharing content on your devices that can be shared out to your PS3 and streamed to your PS3.
Super duper.
Indeed, super duper. And in fact, you can get many hard drives which have inbuilt media servers. And in fact, there's a four-letter acronym, DLNA. If you buy a hard drive or a media streamer device that supports DLNA, which is the Digital Living Network Alliance, if it's DLNA certified, then the PS3 will be able to pick up content from there.
Excellent.
Just thought I'd throw that one in.
Good point.
Happy days.
Happy days indeed. We'll finish on the program now. Any final words?
That's all, and it's going to be Easter holiday soon. So isn't time flying by? And inshallah, we'll have our first call or our second caller soon. How long have we been doing this show now? We don't get any calls, so I'm quite upset.
We've had one call. So
I suppose it's not surprising because I think if some of our audience are geeks in double quote, then geeks don't want to pick up the phone and call, do they? So
no.
That's fine. That's cool. I'm a geek. I'm not anti-geek. I'm not saying geeks are bad. Geeks are good. Go geek. I think everyone go geek.
Geeks are cool. Nerds are uncool.
Go geek.
So, saying about that, we do at least get quite a few questions. That's the plus point, rather than no questions.
Yeah.
So that's worked in our favour.
That's right.
Indeed. Subscribe to our... go on.
So maybe next week we'll even talk about digital cameras and SLR cameras, because I know you've been looking at one and I've been looking at one.
Yeah.
So maybe share some experiences with buying a camera.
Yeah, maybe we should. That's something we'll have to cover in another program.
Yes.
Let's see how things go. Though for the listeners, those of you guys that want to send in your questions for next week, do get in touch with us either through our Facebook page, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, or just send us an email to tech@radiodawn.com. Either way, all channels are open and we'll receive your messages instantly, inshallah. So do get in touch if you've got any questions for next week's program. We'll be back hopefully next week from 8:30 till 9 on the radio. Otherwise, you can catch the repeat of the show on Mondays, I believe, after 9 p.m. I'm not sure exactly what time, but I've been told it's on Monday after 9 p.m. It's played back, and that's the week before the show. So not this week, so last week's show will be played tomorrow. And final point is, and obviously this recording is available on YouTube, so you can listen back to it whenever. Okay, Brother Ghufran, let's get going.
Jazakallah. Lovely, thanks for that, and inshallah see you next week.
Alright, Assalamu alaikum.
Rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Excellent.